Hey everyone, Kris here for Thomann Guitars and Basses. In today's Master Your Tone episode, I want to talk about expression pedals. It's a big subject, and I want to divide it in separate parts. First of all, talk about what they even do. Second, try to give you an advice what might be the right one for you. And third is compatibility, which is a very important piece of this whole conversation. What is an expression pedal for? Actually, it's just a controller. It's a controller for certain parameters of your effect. So let's say you have a chorus and you want to have a little less mix and then a little more. You set those parameters, plug in an expression pedal and rock the pedal with your foot, which is pretty much the same thing as if you turned that mix knob or depth knob on your pedal or in your multi-effect with your hand. It's just a controller for your foot. Let's say you have a delay pedal and you want to control certain parameters of that pedal with an expression pedal. You can do that with the delay time. You can set up the feedback or the mix or anything you want. With an expression pedal, you just have to connect them with the right cable, which is usually going to be a TRS jack cable. And then you can adjust those parameters of your device on the fly with your foot whilst playing. And that was, of course, just one example of what an expression pedal can do. Since there's no signal traveling through, it is just a controller, you can do so many other things. You can make this your whammy pedal, you can make this your wah pedal, your volume pedal. You can give it a lot of different functionalities, and that is what makes an expression pedal so valuable. Next important point is, which is the right one for you? It's really confusing because you'll find ones for just a few 10 euros up to 200 or even more euros. So there's a huge spread, and it's really hard to find out what the differences really are, which is going to work best, which is worth your money, etc. It all depends on, well, a lot of things, but a few factors that are important are, first of all, the used materials. If you get something that's more affordable, it's usually going to be plastic, which is not necessarily bad. They work. But of course, if you have something that's much more robust and built out of metal, it's going to be much more, well, road friendly, let's put it this way. Another important factor is compatibility. That's very complex actually, and not all expression pedals will work with all effect pedals or multi-effects, modulars, even amps that take expression pedals. That is really hard to find out, and you should make sure, of course, that you take an expression pedal that will communicate in a good way with whatever your device is. It's also important to know the handling of that expression pedal and all the possible additional features. For example, this one does not have a spring, which means that if you leave it somewhere with your foot, it stays exactly right there, which is very useful for certain functionalities. This one is an example of one with a spring, which means that if I push it down and let it go, it jumps back up, which is again very useful for other things. And the last point is having a switch or not. Most expression pedals do not have a switch, which is perfectly fine because you don't need one for most situations. But if you want to use your expression mainly for wah or for whammy features or control, then you might actually want one, because first of all, we're just used to it from wah pedals. You can't just press it hard and then it's on. You use it and then press it again hard to turn it off. It's very handy for those kind of things. And now let's talk about the elephant in the room, the most important section of this whole video, the compatibility part. It's kind of complex. And there are certain factors you need to be aware of, but if you pay attention now, there's a good chance that you will get the right one. So first very important point is the value of the potentiometer inside the expression pedal. Most of them will have a 10 kilo ohm potentiometer, which is good because most devices that can be paired with an expression pedal will want to see that. So that's already good. But of course, there are exceptions. You'll see brands like Eventide, TC Electronic, Strymon, who will want to have a 25 kilo ohm expression pedal, which is fine. You will find a fitting expression pedal, but it kind of shows how there is no industry standard. Every brand will want to see a different one. You just have to pay attention to it. Another important factor about the pot inside the expression pedal is if it's a linear pot or a logarithmic one. This will give you a very natural or very unnatural feel when using it and when you have this transition from heel down to toe down. So that is, again, a very important point to pay attention to. Now on to the confusing part of this. It could be that on paper, the expression pedal you have is perfectly compatible with your device, it has the right pot, etc. And still, the first section of your foot movement doesn't change anything. It all happens in the last part, which makes it really hard to control those parameters if you barely have any foot movement to go from 0 to 10, so from the minimum to the maximum. That's the lack of fine tuning. Even though the pot has the right value, it can be that the minimum and maximum setting that the expression pedal sort of transmits isn't the right kind of minimum and maximum value that your device wants to see. And if you want to make sure that this doesn't happen, there are of course brands who will make fitting expression pedals for specific pedals or multi-effects or modelers. That's where, for example, Mission Engineering will have a model for the Kemper. This is the one. That's why it has the green color. There's one for Quad Cortex, for the Fender Tonemaster Pro, for Helix, for Boss products, etc. That's what you also pay for if you take something like this on top of better materials and really robust quality. You will see for which products and which brands those will work. You don't have that luxury, of course, if you take something more affordable. The upside is, of course, that it costs only a fraction of the price. And the last thing we have to talk about is the switch, in case your expression pedal has one. Now, most of them don't, and if you don't miss one, you're good. If you have a switch, it has to be the right type of switch. It can be a momentary switch or a latching one. Depending on the device you're using, it will want to see one or the other. For example, the Kemper wants to see a momentary switch and the Quad Cortex wants to see a latching switch. So that's an important factor, of course. I know that this whole compatibility subject is really overwhelming, and in a way, I do have Floyd Bros tremolo vibes. You see the parallels there, but they're both definitely worth the trouble. An expression pedal is such a versatile tool and can open up new ways of using your rig. Let me know in the comments below what you want to know about guitar rigs and what you find confusing about them. And of course, with all that tone talk aside, what really matters is to enjoy playing the guitar, regardless of the rig and how good it sounds. See you in the next one.